Okay, everyone, latest installment in the saga of Don Lemon. He was arraigned in federal court in Minneapolis this week. Arraignments are often routine for a not guilty plea, but this case had a complication, so he was ordered to appear in person to enter a plea and to hear the judge read the charges against him. Now, I didn't know what that complication was until it was reported yesterday that the feds took Don Lemon's cell phone. Yes, they took it from him in Los Angeles, where he was arrested last month. Now, according to reports, the feds have a search warrant for the cell phone. One of Don Lemon's attorneys apparently talked about the cell phone at the arraignment yesterday in Minneapolis. The attorney emphasized that the search should remain limited and that the feds shouldn't be searching the entire cell phone. And yesterday, Don Lemon filed a joint motion with the other alleged journalist who was arrested, Georgia Fort, seeking release of the grand jury transcript. Now, here's their motion. Okay, I suspect that this motion is a direct response to the feds taking Don Lemon's cell phone. Because Don Lemon has made a lot of statements publicly denying that he participated in the protest per se. He denies that he planned it. He says he was just a journalist. Now, the feds are looking for statements on his cell phone to impeach his veracity, to show that he's a liar, in other words. And so Don Lemon's attorneys are now saying, wait a minute, we want the grand jury transcripts. Now, grand jury proceedings are typically secret, but the motion says that this DOJ can't be trusted allegedly and that they could have made false statements of fact or law to convince the grand jury to indict. So this seems to me Don Lemon and his co-defendant, Georgia Fort, are betting that their own alleged misconduct would be canceled out by any alleged misconduct of the DOJ in the grand jury proceeding. And, well, what's their end game? It seems to me that Don Lemon wants a plea deal, immunity, in exchange for testimony against the leaders of the conspiracy, Nakima Levy Armstrong and Chantel Allen. If, on the other hand, the material on the cell phone is of a different character, shall we say, the case against Don Lemon could become very different. Now, Don Lemon's attorney already emphasized that material unrelated to the indictment should be excluded, but potentially it could become part of the case on the ground of inevitable discovery. Now, if the search of the cell phone exceeds the scope of the warrant, discovery of the evidence still could be deemed inevitable, in which case the evidence wouldn't be excluded on Fourth Amendment grounds. So let's go to the docket report for Don Lemon's case. Okay, and yes, there is a document that's restricted. Here it is, number 84. Now, that may be the search warrant. Document number 83 isn't restricted, and here are those documents. Okay, it's the documents referencing Don Lemon's time in custody in Los Angeles. He spent a night in jail there, let's recall. Now, first page is an out-of-district warrant. Yes, Don Lemon charged by indictment. So next page, a record of proceedings before the magistrate judge in Los Angeles. Don Lemon received Miranda warnings, the right to remain silent, right to an attorney if indigent, right to bail review, and a removal hearing. Removal to Minneapolis, that is. Okay, here's the waiver of rights. Now, this page indicates he waived his right to contest that he was not the same Don Lemon charged in the indictment, and he waived his right to be arraigned in Los Angeles. Okay, and this page sets his conditions of release. He was released on his own recognizance, and the magistrate judge says that Don Lemon may travel to France as scheduled. And this next page here is important. Conditions of release. Don Lemon is ordered to avoid all contact, directly or indirectly, including by any electronic means, with any known victim or witness in the subject investigation or prosecution. And he's ordered to avoid all contact with any known co-defendants, except in the presence of counsel. Absolutely. Now, we don't want the co-defendants coordinating their cover stories and feigning consistency in their individual stories of what happened. Now, that's a condition of their release. If they violate that condition and contact each other, they could be thrown in jail if that's what it takes to keep them separate from each other. Okay, next page. There's no location monitoring, no ankle bracelets for Don Lemon. Okay, so this page is an acknowledgement by Don Lemon, and I redacted his phone number here. It was publicly available on the federal court's website. The courts just aren't very good at redaction, although it's required as a condition of electronic filing. And the court itself filed this document. Now, according to the docket report, let's find out who filed this online without redaction. Okay, document number 83. Okay, the initials KT. Uh-oh, now you've done it, KT. You exposed Don Lemon's phone number publicly. What will happen to you? Probably nothing. But when Lemon gets his cell phone back, he probably should change the number. Okay, the docket entries from the arraignment from yesterday indicate that Don Lemon and co-defendant Georgia Fort filed a joint motion for disclosure of grand jury proceedings. So Don Lemon and Georgia Fort are the two defendants alleging they were just journalists covering the actions of protesters and that they're not protesters themselves. So that's a strategy. They claim that they're similarly situated to each other and shouldn't be treated like the other defendants. They might seek immunity in exchange for testimony against the leaders, Nikema Levy Armstrong and Chantel Allen, as I've mentioned. Now, maybe they're willing to testify against some of the others as well. Now, here's a motion to dismiss filed by Ian Davis Austin. Okay, so his strategy is similar to Don Lemon's and Georgia Fort's. He'll probably seek immunity in exchange for testimony against the leaders. Now, this case is important from a national security and public safety standpoint. If there's no punishment or consequences for storming a church and shutting down a worship service, the extremists will be storming every church. No church would be safe. No house of worship would be safe. So, the federal government is strongly motivated to obtain convictions and prison time. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.